And we're heading out now to Kano to speak with Professor Ibrahim Magaji Barde, who is the ASSU chairman, Bayero University in Kano. Good morning, Professor.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. If you are watching us live on Facebook and on YouTube, you can watch Professor Ibrahim Magaji right now joining us online. A quick question and very direct question to you, Professor. Who pays lecturers in federal government universities?
The lecturers and other staff of federal government universities are being paid by the federal government of Nigeria. And it's done through the University Governing Council.
Having paid by the federal government, why does ASSU insist that it will not be captured on the same salary structure with the federal government pays other workers on its payroll?
Now, you see, in whatever we do, we need to keep by the laws. Our position of not joining IPPIS is purposely due to extant legal provisions and negotiated agreements that we have with the government over almost 2 decades. Nigerian universities are, of course, an arm of government, part of the federal government, but you see, we operate differently. We are not exactly the same with the federal government ministries. Universities are governed by 2 laws. The first one is the Universities Miscellaneous Amendment Act of 2003. This applies to all universities. Secondly, there is an act establishing each university. So these 2 laws are what makes IPPIS inapplicable in Nigerian universities, because those 2 laws are supposed to govern and control all the activities of the universities, including how the workers are going to be paid. The laws vested responsibility for governing universities, including payment of salaries, in their respective governing councils. So they cannot therefore be treated much like any other federal ministry. And that's the reason. And secondly, over the years, we have been negotiating with the government for university autonomy. In 1992, we had agreements. In 2001, we have agreement, and there are several other agreements. Now, all these agreements, purposely, we fought for an earned university autonomy. Imposing IPPIS will water down all those agreements that we have achieved over almost 2 decades. Number 3 problem with IPPIS platform is that it does not, as at now, capture all the peculiarities of Nigerian universities. For instance, it doesn't have sufficient provision to maintain staff balance. We maintain staff balance through visiting and sabbatical leaves. Now, these 2 aspects are not correctly captured. Secondly, we have problem with peculiar allowances, and academic allowances and other allowances. We believe the IPPIS platform has not yet captured it correctly. Thirdly, the manner and way we are promoted, particularly at higher levels, like associate professorship and professors, it used to come with arrears. Many a times, papers have to be taken out for assessment, and after the assessment, it does not come back timely. Sometimes you wait for a year or even 2 years. The platform, we are not sure whether it has captured this. Sadly, there is problem of annual leave. There is problem of retirement age. There is also the payment for housing rent and so on and so forth. Then, if you put all this together, imposition of IPPIS platform on Nigerian universities will cripple them and will not allow them to function.
Go on, Professor, go on.
So what we are, yeah, go on. So what we are saying is we are having 2 challenges with IPPIS. Number 1, it is legality. The clamor by government, fighting corruption and so on and so forth. The statement by the president of Nigeria, General Muhammadu Buhari, they are all policy statements. And you cannot jettison established laws of the land, the Miscellaneous Act, and of course, the laws establishing each university, and then take a policy statement. Policy statement is, we know is part of governance, but policy statement is not as strong as a law. This is the problem. Then the second aspect is the agreement we entered with the government. And this is 2 things that actually makes us to say we are not joining the...
I'm very, very happy that you've mentioned some of the concerns that, ASSU members share. But my other concern here is that why is it that it's ASSU that is fighting this war? What are the university governing councils doing? I mean, you said that they violated, the law establishing, the act establishing each university in Nigeria, and of course, University Miscellaneous Bill as well. And these are cogent, fantastic basis for universities, governing councils, I should say, to argue their case. Well, they are not saying anything. Why is it that ASSU is the one and taking the lead on this?
You see, there are issues that perhaps we cannot mention over the media. But ASUU, as a union of intellectuals, we know what is right, and we are doing what is right. Whether those who know is right, they are doing it or they are not doing it. We cannot, of course, speak for the governing councils. Maybe you can, sort of get them, and they can speak for themselves. But in ASUU, we know
as well, so they wouldn't want to be seen tackling their employers.
As we don't speak for others, so I still insist you contact them.
I'm looking at the draft agreement between the federal government and ASSU 2009, and I'm particularly interested in the salary structure. Here, the conditions of service, Chapter 3, mentions salary structure for academic staff in Nigerian universities. It was agreed that there shall be a separate salary structure for university academic staff to be known as Consolidated University Academic Salary Structure 2, which is shown in Table 1 down. There are 3 components: the consolidated salary structure for academic staff, approved by the federal government with effect from 1st January 2007. The consolidated peculiar university academic allowances, exclusively for university teaching staff, derived from allowances not adequately reflected or consolidated in the first one. Rent, as approved by the federal government, effective from 1st January 2007. If you go down the details about how they arrived at this agreement, and also other things with a breakdown of these, including earned academic allowances, with details about postgraduate supervision allowances for lecturer 1, 15,000 naira per student per annum. Senior lecturer, 20,000 naira per student per annum. Reader and professor, 25,000 per student per annum. There's a breakdown of all of these: teaching practice, industrial supervision, field trip allowances. Do you think that all of this would be adequately captured by IPPIS, which looks like the
one of their concerns, really?
That ASSU has?
I do not think. I want to thank the professor for his calmness and being more open in his analysis of the issues, and it is always clear to Nigerians where ASSU is coming from. A system that has the federal government is not unmindful of what you have read out, and IPPIS or the minister has said it clearly. The minister said it clearly that there are peculiarities of the universities that had been taken into considerations. Those concerns have been addressed. Now,
how do you know this?
Because the minister said so.
Let me hold you a minute.
It could have been political statement.
Even if it's political statement, there's nobody has any ASSU been denied of his allowance?
Because it's never been done before under the IPPIS.
Because even the doctors had the same concern, but today doctors are on IPPIS. The military has the same concern. The minister is on IPPIS. IPPIS is expected to weed out salaries that persons that are not supposed to collect salaries.
Let me play to you the speech of the finance minister again. We can't argue about what she said, right? Professor, I hope you're listening to this. I'll play this audio to you. As a finance minister speaking on the IPPIS for ASSU.
Yes.
We have been able to put most government agencies on the IPPIS. The benefit of the IPPIS is it helps us to control the practice in the past where you have people that are not meant to be on the payroll actually on the payroll. So by migrating all MDAs, and I am pleased to report that the military is now on IPPIS and the police are on IPPIS, and most agencies of government except for a few tertiary institutions who had been resistant. But I'm also pleased to say that we have been engaging them, and we're actually now in the process of uploading them onto the system. The resistance to them to the IPPIS is misplaced as far as I'm concerned, because there is no agency of government that must insist it must be treated separately. For the universities, they have some peculiarities, but also so does the medical institutions. For example, a consultant can consult in different hospitals, but he still should have only one primary point of employment. So a lecturer, by some approval given by the federal minister, is also allowed to lecture in at least one or two institutions. But that doesn't mean he should feature in those institutions as staff. So at best, there will be special allowances that will be due to them for those extra work, and those should be allowances that are not included in the payroll. So we have been discussing with them, and we're prepared to arrange for peculiar allowances for them to make sure that those extra work they do, according to the limit that is allowed, is provided for.
Professor, you listened to the finance minister there, Zainab Ahmed. Do you still have a disagreement with what she said?
Exactly.
Yeah, seriously. On the issue.
Yeah, seriously. On the issue of visiting, like she said, here she just stated 2 universities. But if you look at the advertorial of the Accountant General of the Federation, he mentioned only 1. Meaning that this thing has not been addressed clear as it's supposed to have been addressed. There is also the issue of sabbatical. The Accountant General mentioned 7 years. What is obtained in universities currently is 5 years. Okay? Then there are a multitude of other things that they have not even mentioned. For instance, they have not spoken about rent up to now. They have not equally spoken about tax. So there are quite a lot of things. And in us, we are very much experienced with dealing with government. It's not that we don't trust them, but we don't take whatever they say straight. The ASSU agreement with federal government should have been reviewed since 2012, because it was reached in 2009. And there was provision that it should be reviewed after every 3 years. Now, it was due for review since 2012. What stops the government from reviewing the agreement for 7 good years?
ASSU does not trust the federal government
what we are saying
is capture all its allowances.
Exactly, we don't trust
the government. We have
anything with the government, we have to put it on paper and sign it. And even when we do that, they don't
the phones quickly.
And
now,
this issue of
the IPPIS is an existing structure.
Yeah, exactly.
Does this mean that the government will need to
No,
for lecturers?
IPPIS is an elastic structure. It's an elastic structure that, because not every, the ministries, the core ministries, their salaries and their allowances are different from that of other MDAs. The military has a different salary structure and peculiarities. The doctors have different salary structure and peculiarities.
There are different salary structures for some ministries.
And the finance minister mentioned that.
The IPPIS is an elaborate system. Now, what I think ASSU is afraid of is that there may be some things that the universities, I'm choosing universities to pay them that is not as part of the structure. Or there are some persons that are receiving salaries in 2 or 3 institutions. And I think this is not only ASSU, it is the voice of Esau and the hands of Jacob. Because like you ask, who should be determining policies in the university? It's not ASSU. It is the governing council and the management and the strength of the university. Now, if the governing council is the one pushing ASSU, because every time we hear in this country, government is not funding university, government is not funding university. Now, when government brings money to university, nobody knows where the money goes into. The same thing ASSU did in resisting TSA. When they said TSA should be introduced in every student, ASSU was the one that came up hand in arm against the government. No, we don't want TSA because universities are peculiar.
Doesn't that show that there's something wrong with the governing council not speaking up, and ASSU has to do all the speaking all the time?
The governing council, they are not all politicians. For instance, the chairman of the governing councils are not politicians. These are either retired professors or persons of high academic qualities that are in some places. They are not all politicians. Right. The visitors of universities, what do you call them? The chancellors of universities are not politicians. These are emirs and this. So what am I saying in essence is this? These are the people that they think.
But we hardly hear them speaking.
Think the ASSU is the radical arm. What of the NASU? Why is NASU not speaking? They say they think the ASSU is radical, and the ASSU is the one that makes all the noise that attracts
that
all
shows
the
that there's a problem with the governing council not speaking with issues relating to the universities.
All the sympathies. Now, if ASSU talks,
but there is an agreement. That's what ASSU stands by. That insists that the university is autonomous.
Autonomous to the sense that are you the one generating your resources? What is autonomy? You are not generating resources.
Well, our earlier guest said earlier that it's a standard practice world over where universities get subvention from the state. Go to
University of Ghana, they charge school fees. Go to the Harvard course, they charge school fees. If you get grant, you get grant. Grant is different from funding.
No, he didn't say grant. He said subvention.
Grant that is grant. I mean,
no. Subvention. Subvention is different.
If I'm feeding you, I'm not subventing you. I'm keeping the system.
All right, Nigeria. Let's take some comments.
I'm not subventing you. Subvention is I raise X amount, you match it up with that subvention. But if I'm funding you from your salary, from everything,
is the federal government funding? Is the federal government funding universities?
Of course, the federal is funding universities. Who else is funding universities in Nigeria?
But the problem is the federal government actually has no argument here, because it's the same federal government that entered into an agreement with ASUU and the universities when the universities miscellaneous bill was signed.
Those ones are different.
And we also but you're talking about how universities are run.
There is an issue
and there are laws that stipulate how universities are run.
We'll give you money to run your university, to do this, to do that.
Running is part of paying salaries, right?
Now the owner is telling you, I want to be paying you a salary from this angle.
Let's go to the phone lines. Let's go to the phone lines. Professor Barde is still on the line, by the way. Professor Barde, just stay on the line, please. We need to go and announce the numbers people can get through to us right now. Here are the numbers if you'd like to be part of the program this morning.
Call us on 01-277-0993, 01-277-1993, 01-277-2993, and 01-277-3993. This is Nigeria Info. We are listening.
Yes, we are listening. Facebook, good Lord, where do I even start from? The messages are overwhelming. Let me read Joseph Oka. I'll just start from the one I can catch. Says, what's the difference between IPPIS and BVN? Angel Mosquito says it's a method to confuse workers. Luke Akirami says you love this video feature. You can watch and listen at work. Yeah, that's what Nigeria Info brings to you. Thank you for watching. Nathan Hussein says Nigeria and the self-play games. Kevin Okuna says great technology. Thank you. Keep watching. Joseph Oka Unwa says thanks for the good job. Nigeria Info is watching from Ikwo in Ebonyi State. Thank you for joining us. Olusegun David Jadala says when will this matter end? I've got no answer. Vivian Ekpenyong says I love your work, guys. Thank you, Vivian. Peter Efyong says this is a good one. Wow, thank you all. Thank you all. Ejitavo Judge said university staff are not in the strict interpretation of the law civil servants, but the university councils are subject to the visitor. This is an anomaly of the system that we find ourselves. The way out, however, should be that since technology is flexible, the IPPIS should and could be designed to take care of the peculiarities and sensitivities of the university staff. But he's concerned that shortages of qualified academic staff for the universities would manifest with some universities shutting down some programs. Can we go to the phone line?
Yes, we can. Oladele joins us from Ilukpeju. Oladele, good morning to you.
Good morning, Wemima and Shari.
Good morning.
Morning.
I believe the day has been going very well.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm really enjoying the discussion this morning.
Thank you.
And I think the truth must just be told. The high-handedness of ASUU is unbecoming. Yes, they have reasons, not to trust government because government has reneged several times on agreements. However, you cannot dictate to government that you will not be on the IPPIS because a lot of sharp practices are actually happening on the ground where allowances that are not meant to be paid are being paid, where lecturers get salaries from 2-3. I mean, how can you be a government worker and be earning salary from 2-3 institutions? That's double counting. That's fraud.
Oladele, thank you so much for sharing that. Chooks joins us from Magaji. Chooks, good morning to you.
Yeah, what I'm just saying is that these people should remember that their children may not be lecturers tomorrow. This government is trying to fix things. They are
Oh, good God.
Bad connection.
We can't hear you. Let's head back to, let's take some from WhatsApp. Oh, my goodness. Okay, let me read this one. So long a message.
We have this one. Igwe Prince is watching from Istanbul, Turkey. We have another viewer from Italy. Patrick Real is watching us from Italy. Right.
A comment here from, what's your name? I don't know, but it's a good message. I'll read it. It says it's a shame that ASSU, the supposed intelligentsia, yes, who should know better, are uninformed about the IPPIS. Says no wonder we turn out illogical graduates. IPPIS is likable to remitter. It's a central payment process by all agencies of government through which they're paid. IPPIS will help flush out ghost workers and ensure accountability. I'll leave that there and move on to John from Songo, who says, since this ASSU case with federal government is about the law, let's ASSU approach the courts instead of going on strike and making students and parents suffer for what's not their fault. Tobilola from Ekpe says, why ASSU is against... okay, it's a long message. You need to keep it short, please. Okay, this is from Charles Igboku, who says, Wilcox, I greet you greatly for your clear exposure of this ASSU issue. Why will ASSU be mixing up issues? Are they telling us that for public interest, government would not monitor its major funds outlays? As summarized
I just wonder.
Joseph joins us from Ayabo. Joseph, good morning to you.
Yes, good morning, Quadri. Good morning, Wilma.
Good morning.
Good morning, Lester, Wiscos.
Thank you very much, no problem.
Yeah, and also Professor on the line, good morning.
Good morning.
Lester,
good morning.
I want to ask you a question. When you have a gentleman agreement with your fellow man and it's documented on black and white, both parties sign to this agreement, what do you think should happen?
Implementation.
Okay, good. Are there agreement between ASSU and the federal government?
On which area? On their salary? Yes.
Good. So who is not playing his own part?
Nobody. The federal government is paying ASSU, and as at when due.
But you know, you are saying that probably there's a hand of Jacob or whatever you mentioned in that. Probably ASSU is probably hiding one or two things. But in saying that, are you sure? Because this is the radio, this is the national radio you're talking about. Are you sure of what you're saying? Because this is like an allegation on ASSU.
I said this is...
Hold on, sir. I'll give you a sir.
Okay. Because please
very quickly.
We're running out of time.
Yes, okay. So sorry. You are alleging that ASSU, is probably hiding something. But I want to make it clear to Nigerians. Tell us what you know that ASSU is hiding. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let me take a comment from Twitter.
You got me wrong. Let me correct you.
Very quickly,
yes. We don't have time.
When we are talking about the governing council and who is supposed to champion the cause, and
who should be speaking about this?
And I said it is not ASSU's responsibility to be discussing this issue
because there are other unions in universities.
That of the governing council, and that said, what I suspect is the hand of Esau and the voice of Jacob. Maybe the governing councils are those pushing ASSU, because there are things they want to hide, and this must come to fore. If you have an argument, come up on air. Let us debate it.
Right. Let's take one from Mutaza Miki. So says, no matter what they say, Nigerian universities should not be enrolled on IPPIS. The enrollment is a threat to the autonomy of Nigerian universities and a deliberate, undue stronghold on the universities by the federal government of Nigeria. Joy Forever on Twitter says the problem is with everything running at different policies. IPPIS should be resolved amicably. Federal government should not just formulate policies against established laws. That minister said it is not a law until signed. TSA not implemented by MDAs. Professor Barde, on our way out, is ASSU still insisting on a strike if the federal government stops payment of salaries by the end of the month?
We had interaction with government of recent, and currently we are trying.
We do have our procedures. Currently, we are trying to make government understand this is a legal issue. It's not a matter of policy or what somebody thinks or what somebody feels. As citizens of Nigeria, we should go by the law. Nothing more than that. I have said it before. The statement by government, the president, the minister, and other people are mere policy statements. And policy statements are not as strong as national laws. So let us resolve the legal issue. I'm coming. Secondly, like I said, it's a matter of agreement. We have signed agreement with government. So if there's agreement, government, everybody, all the parties must be able to implement. And sadly, our resistance is that we are having some peculiarities. Somebody made a mention of TSA. In TSA, why we resisted it was there are international donor organizations that normally gives money to universities. And they specifically state that their money must not be put in treasury single accounts. And if we insist that it has to be put in treasury single account, we are going to lose the funding. And the government is not giving the funding. So we have reasons.
We're totally out of time now. We would love to continue this conversation, but our correspondent there in Kano will definitely continue this on Nigeria Info there. Thank you so much for joining us. Professor Ibrahim Magaji Barde is the ASSU chairman, Bayero University in Kano. Thank you for your time, sir.